Welcome to the podcast. We are live from Bromandy. Now, what are we doing? Okay, this is an anime podcast, and I'm Cruxis with
Marcus Sensory,
Sholtz,
Karen,
Vologo,
and yeah, like I said, we're talking about anime today. We're doing ratings, lists, reviews. Well, not today, but in further episodes to come. We're just going to try to give you a heads up on what some of our favorites are today. So, without further ado, my favorite anime of all time, without a doubt, is The Future Diary. Don't sue me.
that is a gutsy move. Just saying.
It's pretty deep. I'm not going to lie.
I
But
got chills.
I mean, it's pretty scary.
So
starting off strong.
We can assume what some of your major points are for why it's your favorite, but go ahead and hit us with what you specifically count as your favorite.
Well,
points.
I mean, you know. literally, you know Gasai, one of my favorite characters. Yandere.
Exactly.
I'm all about some Yandere.
The thing is, like, if you make a character that establishes an archetype so well, to the point where you could literally just replace your name with Yandere, it does so well. So, like, if you have, especially if you're already a fan of the genre, or the archetype,
she is a definition.
So when you walk into it, it's just like, this is everything I wanted. It's like literally perfection.
I mean, I don't think I walked in and be like, I want some Yandere in
Yeah.
my life.
With the Yandere,
she corrupted you into the Yandere.
But she totally made my day by being Yandere. Sorry. Anyway. But seriously, for some reasons, I enjoyed the dub. Brenda Palencia, great Josh
Great
Grail,
voice actor.
Agreed.
Not wrong.
I mean,
Josh Grail,
Polo.
I didn't know anything he did until recently found out he is Armin in Attack on Titan. But he did a good job as Yuki, or as a whiny protagonist. I mean,
he seems to be doing that well.
Lining them up.
I mean,
don't worry about it. We can handle it.
that's a pretty big archetype. But anyway, some other things I enjoyed about it were supporting characters. The system they have where they do the numbers, the 1 through 12, to the point where you don't even remember their name, as some of us can agree.
I can agree with that 100%.
I mean, can any of y'all name the little kid's name?
I mean,
I can't even remember his
It's
number.
Hojo, but we're not even going to worry about it, okay?
I don't even remember his number, to be honest.
I don't remember any of the numbers.
I believe he's 5.
I was thinking 6, but that's not him.
Well, no, 6.
That's
probably his age.
6. I mean,
yeah.
you're going to get raped if you talk about number 6.
Oh, boy.
Anyway. We're not going to go to number 6. Anyway.
Moving off that.
Anyway, but no, seriously, some of my favorite characters were the supporting characters, specifically Ninth, which is Irio Minane.
Well, I mean, she's just the best.
I mean, she's explosive, no lie.
She is the bomb.
She's a terror. Don't worry about it. But,
no, the thing is, a lot of times with shows like that, for me at least, is when you get a show like that that has like a definitive supportive cast, it's almost like you get to pick your favorite character. But once again, to attest to the quality of the character of Yuno Gasai, they are all overshadowed by her, basically. I think we can all agree on that.
She owns the show. I'm not gonna lie. Basically. My favorite character, done.
Of all time, or like that show?
I mean, that's debatable, to be honest.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
So it's in the question.
I mean, it's one of the two, for sure.
One of the two.
Anyway.
Different podcast. Moving on. Yeah.
But just her character literally made the show everything for me, because it starts off, he meets her, blah, blah, blah. As they get more into the connection between them and everything that just kind of led up to where you get, I just kind of fell in love completely with the idea and her diary.
The thing is, like, I'll go ahead, Chase.
I think the thing that draws most people to the show is they're like, what is this character and what show are they in? When they see
Exactly.
They're like, they're from the Future Diary. Well, let's watch the Future Diary.
Exactly.
Which is what hooked me at first glance. Like I said, and then once you get into it, you find a whole lot of other things you can love about the show or hate, depending on who you are.
As someone who does not actually like the show, I can say that Yuno is a good enough character to continue watching it, despite the things that I might have a problem with later, which I will keep to myself.
For a lot of people,
as they are rather spoiler heavy.
For a lot of people, you watch the show for the ride, not necessarily for the quality of the show. But I personally still say it is one of my favorite shows. And like I said, when you get a survival game style show with multiple characters with their own backstories, not as big as or Yuki, they're still deep enough for you to have like kind of an attachment to some of them, or a hatred for some of them,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who they are.
I like a lot of the survival fight to the death shows. I really love that.
I love an anime you can immerse yourself into and kind of
Exactly.
feel like you're inside of it and like playing around, like maybe in the background or something, watching everything go through and play out.
If like a death game, I feel in some ways has done its job when you can see an antagonist die and be sad when he dies.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thing with Future Dire. I like that every character, whether they were good, evil, somewhere in the middle, there was something to like about them. Or some reason that they were the way they were.
There was a side.
I got to look
you
at
could
Cruxis' poster to check him on
Oh,
that.
I have quite a well. Thanks to Marcus, I actually have like 2, like mouse pads or card pads that are completely Gasai.
The table of
It's pretty nice. I really do enjoy it. But like as Charon was saying, every character has something to sympathize over. Or a small side of it.
There's
And
some.
well, some. Like I said, there's a few that literally are just meant for.
I mean,
you do not like them.
Some have
Out of-
plenty. One of them's a child, so I
Out
guess
of
that's a thing.
curiosity,
But you love to hate a villain.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
if you
about
hate
that.
him the right way.
Yeah.
This is a hard topic to get across, but I think you can understand if you've seen a good enough show.
Well, on another show, kind of like Future Diary in a sort of way, more of a, I guess what people take as a survival style show. I think I'm gonna pass one to Marcus here. I think you know where I'm going.
I assume you're talking about Dead Man Wonderland.
I mean, a little bit, yes.
All right. Well, Dead Man Wonderland is one of my personal favorites. And while a lot of people might disagree with me based off of the ending, I don't think that the ending can really crash the show simply because it was not continued. Popularity, it can't be gauged outside of like pre-release, you know what I mean? So when they put it out, I suppose you could say they might have put it out with the intention of hooking people into getting a second season. But either way, regardless of that, standing alone, there's so much depth to it. Like, and it might seem silly to say that because it does in fact have a lot of shonen elements, but shonen is not necessarily depthless. Vologo, calm down.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just get excited.
As I was saying,
Praise
the
shonen.
story of Dead Man Wonderland is actually very. There's basically everything happens with a reason, and there's motives behind everything, and you will not catch all of this on your first watch. And if you really enjoy the show, I can almost guarantee you that you'll have multiple watches.
I rewatched it for the 3rd time the other week.
I've seen it 8 times. I'm not fucking with you. I've seen it 8 times through.
I saw it the one time, and I considered it to be very enjoyable. And I really do wish it had a second season. But even though the first season did its job.
How many episodes is the season?
Dead Man Wonderland has 13 episodes, and there's an OVA based around one of the supporting characters.
Okay. Are they about like a 30-minute long?
Yes, I think they're roughly 24 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
literally, yeah, that nails it.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the show in general, just because again, back to survival in the prison, fighting, trying not to die. Oh, and you know, all these reasons to die, all of them.
And all the reasons just not to continue going on, and you'll know what we mean by that as you watch the show. Because it seems like as the story goes on, it does in fact try to break down the main character. So, which is the theme in a lot of running shows. Once again, fantastic supporting cast. As far as lots of the characters go, most people will probably... When you watch the show, you'll know which character most people will probably love. So, I don't feel the need to tell you. You'll know. So, I'll go ahead and pass it on to Sholtz over here.
I am a very emotional person. I have very deep, heartfelt moments with my shows most times, and those are the shows I will watch forever and love forever.
Dude, I'm weeping with you now.
Literally cried 3 times.
Weeping with you
through
now.
Clannad, specifically After Story, but the overall just Clannad story. Just brought together the characters. Just he met her, I think, just randomly, and just connected love. I don't really know if you want to say for that the idea between, I'm trying to think how to say it, all of the characters' connections for the.
Let's put it this way. Season 1 Clannad gives you several small 6 to 7 episode arcs where you're giving a character with a certain situation where you develop feelings for this character, and whether the situation is resolved or not is how you react to the situation, which, I mean...
It's a balance of tragedy and comedy, so to speak.
Yeah, it does. Like, you have the characters that are comic relief, but then they still have a deep, sad story to it.
I can relate to that.
Or
It's,
some,
it's the difference between liking and loving a character, basically, is what you're trying to say. Is that right? Or
yes,
am I being...
and the thing is, it's like within that small period of time, you resolve the arc, and you have your feelings at the end of the arc, but then you have to come back next episode prepared to do it again.
Repeatedly, new person, let's go again. He literally connects to everyone repeatedly, and I love every time. And again, cried 3 times in the second season alone.
Well, it's like season 1 spent all this time planting a seed in where Okazaki and Nagisa are completely falling in love, and you're like, oh, they're going to be a thing. And of course, season 1, like I said, no spoiler intended, but it rounds out with what you think is going to be a thing. And then after story, season 2 just carries on with that into where you're growing up and you're dealing with life struggles. And instead of it being happy days at school dealing with softer problems, you're dealing with the struggles of life, which is relatable to anybody.
Which, maturity in anime is something that, oh my goodness, I'm desperate for at this point. So,
Yeah.
You'll hear
can
more
you
on that
say
in a
kill a
minute.
kill?
I can't. I
Or
literally can't.
now.
Good.
There's none of those are real.
None of those are real. They don't exist.
Karen, do you want to mention anything?
Well, my favorite anime ever would have to be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I think maybe one other person here
There
has
had
watched.
to be one.
Whatever. It's amazing, and you know it.
Once again,
It's pretty
since,
good.
since it seems to be a running theme with us, supporting characters, once again,
Yes.
has a fantastic supporting cast. Out of curiosity, being the most well-versed in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, who is your favorite character?
It's got to be Mustang. I know he's
Mustang?
the favorite of
Yeah.
everybody, but it's got to be Mustang.
Well, I mean, I'd have to disagree with you, to be honest.
Oh,
I'm more of a
Because-
strong arm.
I'm more of a Scar kind of guy.
we got the 3 fan favorites.
Okay,
right here.
see?
Then.
All right, well, we covered all of our bases then. Just saying, J. Michael Tatum, enough said.
Yeah, that does get a lot of points.
But at the same time, Roy Mustang, man, he is a very badass character, I'm not going to lie.
It's just kind of that the crisis he goes through throughout it. Just kind of sit with me in a good way.
Yeah.
Every time he snaps his fingers, man.
That's another thing. It's like, let's think about this. The way his alchemy works is he increases oxygen there to make fire. He could literally have used anything to spark. He could have carried a lighter, a match, a gun. No, he got a fabric that sparks when it rubs against itself for the specific purpose of being able to blow stuff up by snapping.
I mean, that
was a conscious decision
That
on his
was,
part.
it was deep
style
thought.
points. Style points right
He
there.
was like, I just want to. You ever just want to snap and blow something up? Well, I can't.
He just wanted to look like a badass.
That's
while,
all it
blowing
was.
shit up.
Well, credits to Brotherhood. What other show can actually take on the task of using alchemy?
Yeah.
Duly noted, indeed.
This is like the one thing they did and nobody else has.
That
They've
is
got
true.
their own little staple that they can run.
Because
with.
anybody else that's tried to dip into it just hasn't been able to catch it the same way.
But I don't think like you want to because they really hit it like pretty like.
If
I don't
anybody
know.
else tries to, it's almost going to feel like they're trying to take from Full
Yes.
Metal, whether they are or not.
The alchemy isn't necessarily the big thing. Like, the alchemy is the medium for what
me,
they're
it's
trying
the
to...
rules of the alchemy.
Exactly.
Yes.
Equivalent exchange
Yes.
is the entire thing that the show is based around. And the entire time you see that go through.
Yes.
So
For
every
every second of the show.
Exactly. So it's really nice to see a reinforcement like that.
Just more shows that define the actual terms that go on
Yes.
any other show that ever tries to touch it.
Yes.
It's how you can foreshadow but lead to unexpected events at the same time.
Because, I mean, it's like you were saying, from episode 1 to, what is it, episode 64 is the
I
last
believe
one?
there are 64.
The equivalent exchange is the primary drive of everything. It's like, no matter what happens, there is a cost.
Yeah.
And they want you to understand that. Whether it is you trying to do this in your life, you've got to pay something for it, or what have you. There's always something that you are having to pay for whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
And another thing that I loved, especially in Brotherhood, was kind of just, it had that theme of what different characters were willing to do for each other.
Exactly.
That was just something that really kind of struck a chord with me, was how much different characters were willing to fight or even sacrifice for the sake of their friends.
And what's weird is that even Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood though still has that tiny little shonen complex
Yes.
where it ends up where you're like, okay, so that's the main character, but anyway, Roy Mustang, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I haven't watched many shonen anime. We'll wait till Vologo goes to really get deep into that sort of thing.
There's nothing wrong with a little shonen.
Not at all. But the thing is, like, with my shonen that I watched was Soul Eater. And I'm going to be so honest with you. I don't give a shit about Maka. I like Soul more than Maka. Professor Stein,
Yes.
Krona, I mean, those kinds of characters far surpass anything that the main character's seen, even though we see the main character progress the most.
Well, that's kind of the thing I think you'll see in a lot of shonen anime is it's like when you ask who the favorite character is, or you take a character popularity poll, the main character will almost never win.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be that secondary character, or that tertiary character, or that guy that was only in one episode but just had so much development in it.
Too much charisma.
Yeah.
Yep.
Indeed.
So what you got, Vologo?
Yeah, if I had to touch a topic on like what my favorite anime of all time is, I'd have to go with One Piece. And I mean, now a lot of people,
journey.
A lot of people are like, yeah, not willing to take the dive,
Still
you
going.
know. But
We're sitting at what, 600 and some odd episodes now?
638 at present date.
I watched 6.
There you go. I mean,
I've read the first volume of the manga.
there you go.
I stuck with it away. I saw till they hit the Big Blue, and then I realized how long, or the Grand Line.
Yes.
Then I realized how long they were going to
just
sit
barely
for that.
scratched an itch on someone's back.
To those of you that didn't really stick with it, he said it was in what, 678?
Yeah, 678.
Where they said that treasure they're looking for, the One Piece is in the Grand Line. They hit that at like episode 100.
Yeah.
From 100 on, they are trying to find it in the Grand Line.
Oh my
Yeah, and
goodness.
then you find out that there's a second part of the Grand Line, your mind gets blown, but I'll get to that here in like after a while. For a lot of people, they can't get past the hump, and for me, the hump like ends once you get to like the Nami saga, like whenever you find Nami, you meet the Arlong pirates, and then you like find out how far Luffy's willing to go to help his friends.
Now, like, quick question.
What you got?
What is this Nami saga? Like, how deep into the show is it?
Well,
Now, say this number boldly if it's late.
okay. It's within the first 50 episodes, I want to say.
All right,
that
see,
you're gonna
that's-
get there.
That's
I
manageable.
would be insulted if there weren't 600 plus.
Yeah.
See, that's actually a fraction of the show. That's fine.
Yes.
Well, I can't do it. But obviously you're dedicated way more than we are. I'm
And-
like, it's got 32 episodes, I probably won't make it.
I'm
Like-
25 to 26. Hey, we did it.
I mean-
I did the whole thing.
Well, I mean, Marcus, you told me when we were talking about Brotherhood, it's like you were dragging through it, and it was,
Yeah.
what, 64?
Mm-hmm. Like, it's just weird. Like, I enjoy well-developed stories, but I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I almost feel like it's going longer than it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, in a lot of shonen anime, once again with the supporting cast we keep talking about,
Yes.
it keeps adding on to that supporting cast. So there's more for you to love, but at the same time, there's more to resolve and more to not just throw away if they were to just end it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, say if then this is obviously ridiculous, but if the next aired episode was the last episode and no one knew it, and Luffy found the One Piece, there would be so much left that you just wouldn't like. You'd feel so empty. You know what I
I'd
mean?
cry
They
so
built up
hard.
so much room.
I've
to just
cried a
keep
lot
going
during
for-
One Piece, but I think
for
that
another
would break me
6,000
completely.
episodes. That if it happened any time short of 6,000, it's not going to seem like they got everything.
Man, I'm going for 10,000.
Although One Piece's
Like,
world, I assume, is actually rather extensive.
it's very large, and I mean, I don't understand how the guy who like wrote everything, how he's keeping up with all the characters, and how everything's going to tie in, and
just
how
like-
it's tied in so far. I mean, it's really been quite an amazing journey. And when I was talking about immersing yourself into an anime, that's why I like the long runnings, because you can get inside of it, and I mean, you can just kind of feel the characters, and you can feel everything that's going on.
They've built their own world, sort of.
They've built their own
Length of an
And
anime, I can never win. It's either 25 and I loved every moment and I got through it, and then like, where's more? Or it's 600 and I can't start.
I feel like one of the things about shonen that actually for its viewers is a good thing is you never feel like you're going to have your legs cut out from under you by losing
Yes.
characters or the show just ending.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And that bothers me more than anything. I can't tell you how many times I've watched an anime on Netflix only to find out that it hasn't been carried on.
Well, that's the thing. It's like where you grow an attachment to characters, or where you have a show that gives you such a euphoria, and it either ends or you lose a character, and it's all so short that you don't have time to just recuperate from it. Shonen series, you have a lot of characters and a lot of time to be with them,
Yes.
and it leaves you with a whole open
I think we've all
perspective.
had that one moment where we finish a glorious anime and then you
Depression sets in.
you try to go to sleep, and you're
You
like, what am
can't.
I gonna do with the rest of my life
Man, all the
It's even
time.
better.
from
It's
this point on?
even better when you are watching it live, like week to week, and you don't know it's the last week.
Oh my god.
And it's like it ends and you realize it's over and you just kind of sit there like in a chair just looking around like, what am I going to do?
You're all of a sudden you were like, dude, I had no game or no life.
A week late.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I saw Bombshell. Oh man, I'm so pumped for next week.
It's bad whenever you go
There
through
was
3
no next
seasons
week.
in like a day and realize that it's over and you're sad about it.
But-
Because
Talk
that's
about
usually what
seasons in a
happens
day.
to me.
But to get back, where you're talking about the characters in One Piece, I saw a statistic on that not that long ago, and it kind of just blew me away that I think it was something like over 1,000 fully fleshed out and developed characters throughout that show's history.
And yes,
I can
no,
just-
there really is, because you got to think every time something happens, there's like a main villain or a main protagonist that you're gonna meet. You're gonna learn a little bit about them, and you're gonna either like be friends with them or you're gonna defeat them, but they're gonna come back later on. And it happens so often. He doesn't like to kill his main characters or characters in general, but anytime that a character dies, I mean, it really hits you hard, and that just goes back to them being there for so long throughout the story.
That's almost how you know you've got a good character, is
Yeah.
if they die and it just
Man,
smacks you in the
it's-
nuts.
It just smacks you in the nuts, and you cough about it. You lay down on the ground,
We
you
all
cry.
You have to pause the show, just lay down for a while and
So-
wait because you know you can't process any more plot from here on.
Yeah, do a few grunts.
Yeah.
One final question for you
What you
before you
got?
wrap up your topic.
All about it.
Considering One Piece is probably the most watched show overall in anime,
Okay, I'm scared about this
why
question.
do you think there are so many fans who love the show?
I mean, why do I think so many fans love it? Again, because there's just so many episodes, and you have the time to get to know everybody. I mean, whenever someone joins the ship, when someone joins the crew, you have a lot of episodes where you're going to find out that entire person's backstory. I mean, from time they were a child to where they are now, and the big problem, the big like hump that they have to cross over to become friends and like earn each other's trust. And that is so in depth that, I mean, you just get really attached and like you just learn to love the character. There's maybe only one character in the entire series that I haven't learned to love. I might get some hate about it, but it's gonna be Usopp. Oh well, you know, it's gonna be Usopp mainly because I think like he kind of drags out his scenes too much just to like fill the episode up.
Yes.
But
From what I've yes.
I think we were a witness to this
We
here
were
recently.
the other day.
Randomly one episode just behind my
yes,
head. and
exactly.
I heard him talk
The-
for way
the like
too
12 minutes of him sneaking up on someone.
Yes,
Yeah.
whenever they're trying to save Robin, yeah, and he
Soldier
was fighting a wolf man, a dog man, or something. Yeah, he just drags it out, and nothing really happens. But it's for what is it,
Comedic relief.
Comedic.
Boom, right there, that.
Sometimes feel it.
Quick question
And he's good at that.
to everyone but Vologo.
Oh god, okay.
Who kind of, like, even just a little bit, kind of wants to watch One Piece just solely based off the passion of Vologo's speech about it?
A little bit.
I mean,
I got
That
chills.
was the
A
closest.
teensy bit, like,
That was the
just saying.
closest that Shonen has ever come to getting in my pants.
Boom.
there you go. I mean, I was trying to
I
dig
mean,
my way in there, man.
They were all up on me, making some moves.
It
I want
makes
the
me
family
want to at least
jewels.
give it like that, 40 episode college
Okay,
track.
I've
well,
got no more room
calm
after
down.
Vologo.
Yeah.
Pants are
Well, I mean, if you look at it percentage wise, that's only like 5 episodes to most anime.
Yeah,
Colin Clinkenbeard.
it's
I mean,
like
yeah,
I'm saying, you
that
just
range though.
Yeah.
if you can push yourself through it to get to like the main part and like where everything ties in, it becomes so worth it. Like so worth like the backstories and like the slow episodes. If you really put yourself into it, everything ties together so well, and it's beautiful. Absolutely
That's
beautiful.
some deep passion, man.
I
I
really-
really dig that.
I
We've
really
only talked
like-
about one
deep-
shonen anime.
I
I
now.
really like the show, man.
That's just the first shonen anime you wanted to talk about.
I know.
As inspired as I am, I'm sorry and I love you.
I know, man.
I cannot push the
It's a
push.
big
Yeah.
dive. It
I'd
is
read
a
the
big
manga
dive.
first, to be honest.
And
so I
that,
could see
that
the
would
original
probably go
content.
faster because I think the manga doesn't have so much filler.
Mhm.
You know, I don't think One Piece is really known for having filler episodes, not like Naruto.
Oh god,
But
you can't have a story arc without filler.
yeah, but definitely the manga
There can be good
probably
filler.
processes a
I
lot
enjoy some
faster.
filler.
Yeah, Bleach in particular is a very good filler.
Yes.
Well, moving on to the next one, I guess I'll take over. Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, well, we knew it was coming up.
All right, so let's buckle down for the next hour.
Monumentous occasion.
Oh boy!
Wow, jumping in head first there.
I'm going to hit some side points before we actually jump into the root of the show. The music was done by Yoko Kanno.
And the seatbelts.
Very true. By the way, have y'all ever seen the
what a
length of
crew.
the soundtrack to this show?
Isn't it like 6 hours or something?
It's about 6.5 or more.
It's
That's
a
impressive
long list.
It's longer than the runtime of the show, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you took every
I mean,
episode.
I don't know about that, but I just know that it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
Like
It's really
goodness.
well done. The jazz overtone is wonderful.
There's
I love
some
jazz,
shows,
to be
like
honest.
there's some soundtracks that you're just like, that hits that to a T. Like for instance, Spice and Wolf. If you look at
Yes.
this time period that Spice and Wolf goes on, and then you listen to the music from the time period in like our actual like planet Earth that was played during that time period, they are damn near identical.
It fit just so well.
Exactly.
with-
It just nailed that little genre. Same thing with bebop. Jazz, like the whole jazz music, oh my goodness, was nailed by Yoko Kanno and the Cowboy Bebop.
completely.
Like every single little bit of it. And like if you listen to the music, someone who's actually heard like been in a band or some such thing, I know my dad loves music. He's like all over music, and he told me they're doing some insane things on those instruments. Like it's crazy some of the things they do.
Well, it's like you take some of the episodes where like they just point out the saxophone
Yes.
from the one episode where the guy's playing the saxophone,
Yes.
or where the boy is playing
Space
the
line.
harmonica. They are hitting some major songs, and these are just the tracks by themselves being played, and it completely sucks you into the episode.
Exactly.
But other things I was gonna say, how the dub completely overshadows the sub version. It doesn't exist. It's not even there.
How often does that really happen? I mean, I can think of maybe 2.
There's
And they're
the
both
thing
from the
is-
90s?
Not very often.
You-
No.
yeah.
The thing is, strangely enough, there were 2 anime that really set anime off in the West. One of them, Cruxis hates, Akira. That set off a huge fan base of anime in America. The second one, partly due to its dub, well, one of the major factors was that you could watch it in English, was Cowboy Bebop, which really attests to how good the dub was, just because of how groundbreaking it was.
So major props to Steve Bloom and
Steve Bloom,
Wendy Lee.
Bo Billingshead, I believe is his
Definitely.
name, if I'm pronouncing
When I
it right.
saw Bebop, I don't think I even really like. This is probably really early. I don't think I knew sub would even exist for that.
Mm-hmm.
It was
yeah.
that was
It
just
was like
in
this
English.
was an American show
It was
Yeah.
made for me to hear
that
it
Japan
in this
just
voice.
happened to have a copy of.
They made it later.
Let's
It was-
Finally!
Let's face it, some of us here prefer subs. Has anybody actually watched the Bebop sub?
I don't know. Can you find it?
Yeah.
Like-
I mean,
You find it, I'll look at it.
Okay.
I mean,
If you end up illegally
I'll take
streaming
a gander.
Bebop, like you would have to illegally stream the subtitle. Like you can just find the dub.
So
There's
together,
no
stream.
everywhere.
Yeah, literally everywhere because no one's gonna supply it subtitled.
no.
Like God, it's so good.
Now, to put into comparison to shows that we've already stated,
Okay.
this is a show where the main character is generally the favorite character, and the supporting characters honestly aren't that big of a deal compared to them.
Very true. I mean, it had good supporting characters. Even, again, people that were just there for an episode or two, like Andy.
Yes, Andy the Cowboy,
Yes.
wonderful character.
Yeah, supporting character,
Yeah.
quote
But
unquote.
when we're talking
He was
about
more of... He was
Calm
not
down
a
with
support.
such allegations.
specifically talking
He was
about,
not a support.
specifically talking about Faye Valentine and Jet Black, and of course Ed. But I don't
Yes.
even know
Personal favorite.
Ed
Of
is
course.
well. Ed's wonderful, but Ed I guess was meant to be put in as more of a comedic relief character amidst all the seriousness of the show. And
Although you have to admit, I'm pretty sure everybody was at least a little bit sad when you see the bye-bye painted on the ship.
Yeah.
Oh.
now, we're
Moving
getting-
on.
we're getting deep, we're getting deep.
That's way.
Team grown, right?
But the undertones of the coping with the past that had some deep meaning to it, and then, well, I can't go there. That's a ending thing.
Yeah.
Well, what I would ask you is
You're
like,
left to think about things. Just to say that.
what are like the key points in Cowboy Bebop? Because I've never watched it. I've only seen
Well,
like one scene,
Pay
and
attention.
it was not my
Cowboy
favorite
Bebop.
scene.
Well, you're thrown into a universe where, like I said, they're bounty hunters.
Okay.
They make money
Yes.
off catching
Bad guys.
Yeah, bad guys.
And they're some of the best at it.
And
is the funny
but
part.
they're some of the best, but they're some of the worst. They are like like I think literally 80% of the episodes they don't get their bounty, or like they do other things besides such.
Or they cause so much property damage that their bounty comes out to nothing after fines.
How did they make it through the whole show?
I know, right?
They're
out of oolongs. But the thing is about the show is 26 episodes and a movie.
Okay.
Everything is kind of episodic.
Okay.
You are dealt with around 5 episodes of the deep plot, and by the deep plot I mean Spike's past specifically. But all the other episodes you are presented with the problem, the solution, and the attachment to the characters within it. Whether you attach to them or not, they get like a small 1-episode story to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that 5 episodes of plot is strode out with like episodes like 5. 10, like 11, like 17, and then like 26. Mm-hmm. And so you're left to think, well, what does this mean? What does this have to do with it? And you get bits and pieces of it here and there in the episodes.
And that pacing is kind of a good thing because it leaves you there trying, instead of just like constantly spoon feeding you all the details, they leave you all that time to think, well, here's what I think they're going to do with it. Here's what I think that's going to do, or where it's going to go.
Well, see, some of the strengths and can be considered weaknesses of Bebop is that each episode you watch it, you enjoy it for itself without having to compare it to the rest of the show. But some people, like I said, it can be a weakness because it's like, okay, here's an episode, but what did it have to do with the overall plot of the show? And like I said, it might have bits and pieces having to do with the relating to your past, which is most of every episode.
I would say, like, one of the big parts of Cowboy Bebop, like, the name of the Cowboy Bebop game is definitely reinforcement.
Okay.
It's like, there's a theme in Cowboy Bebop, and you will see that being either built upon or simply just reinforced over and over and over again.
Right. So, is it a fast moving?
Not to say it's repetitive.
Is it like, because it's only have 26 episodes.
Correct.
But there's also a lot of detail and a lot of emotions going through the 26 episodes.
Well, it's almost like you don't have time for emotions.
That's what I was asking. Is
Because
it so fast paced?
Every episode begins and ends within that 30-minute time slot.
Okay.
So you either enjoy that or you don't like that, depending on, like I said, what your tastes are.
Right.
Pacing's a little different for you with your getting used to having 20
Yes.
episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, it's like lightning fast. Everything's
I went
going
through
and
the
going.
show fairly quickly. I'm not gonna say I didn't like the show. I did love the show. It wasn't one of my like all-time favorite, but like thinking back on it, I just feel like I kind of just go through the day. It was like just another bounty. And I know these stories go through on these episodes. You have the very key episodes, like you were saying, but you have the bounty episodes that the only ones I can really remember all the time are just they went for the bounty. Oh snap! Wait a minute, different thing. Okay, no bounty. We'll go home. We'll figure it out later.
Well,
We got our instant noodles.
Yep.
And they can live.
Bell peppers and beef.
And
There's no beef.
No beef.
And it's not that I didn't ever see all the build for all these characters. It's more that I literally cannot think back to the show without. I just literally go through the daily life of them, going through all of their bounties and such, or however they meet everything.
Slice of life to the extreme.
Slice of life.
It really was in a way.
Bebop in my head.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Well, I think we hit that monumentous pillar.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we had to get past it.
We had to get past that one. All right. Well,
On the
Marcus-
topic of
I know
Space
it's there.
Cowboys,
Uh-oh.
I'll go ahead and hit one of my huge
Rogueback
favorites.
Galaxy.
What?
That's not an anime, and we do not condone that comment.
Vologo will not be appearing on the podcast anymore.
All of
Say
our
goodbye.
show support went out the window.
Say
I-
goodbye now.
We're not pushing through.
He's
One
done.
Piece.
He's gone.
You built up so much shown and respect.
I was trying to make
Anyway.
a comment.
Anyway,
To your wonderful show.
Space Cowboys.
I'll bring it back.
Trigun is one of my favorites of all time. And I suppose if we're talking about the strongest points of our separate anime, I suppose mine would probably be the strongest part is the main character by far. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, simply because Trigun is a really good anime to go into blind. But there has never been, that I have seen so far, a character more tested in one specific area of his life and still come out strong. Like, that's probably one of the biggest things of the show, is basically he's got this one idea, and the entire time he just like spends it trying to protect this idea, because that's what he really believes in. And then finally comes out strong, and that's it's kind of like that moment when faith is rewarded. That's just like it like punches you right in the heart. It's wonderful.
Well, I think it's like when you're talking about Vash the Stampede, or what's his full name again? Do you know his full name?
Bash Alkalinella. That's as far as I can
It's
get.
it's pretty long. Anyway, the one thing I say about
It ends in
Vash,
Doitzel Kaiser the Third. That's all I got.
something we can't say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too long.
But Vash, one of the characteristics I can say is he's a pure protagonist. Like there's no, from what you can see, there's no bending of his will. This is what I believe in, and I will stand to the death for it.
At personal risk to himself.
Yes, like I don't care what happens to me as long as everybody else is okay. And like it's like to the point where it's like, okay, this is what he can do. He will do this at all costs. I'm like, okay, well, what happens when things go beyond his limits? Like you don't know, but it's like it doesn't matter because you'll find out, or you won't find out. I mean, that's Vash.
Yeah.
Sorry about the vagueness. I just don't want to be like, hey, Vash is Stampede.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of one of those shows that you don't want to know too much about when you go into, or you'll just kind of have that expectation in your head. It's like, well, this is what's going to happen, or this is how he'll get through it.
Basically, Vash the Stampede basically creates an entire new definition of the word noble, I would say.
Yes.
And it's astounding in my eyes.
Well, I think it's actually like when you get to know Vash, it's completely different from what you thought you were getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at the show of Trigun, you see Vash with a big gun.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, Vash is a badass. And you're like, yeah, okay, Vash is a badass, but he has such a comedic side to him, a loving side to him. And I said, there's so much more to his character than what you think you're getting into.
It's amazing. And I've always said, if there's one weakness that Trigun has, it's if you don't like Vash, you won't like the show. If you don't like Vash, I can't be friends with you.
Yeah.
You might have problems.
Yeah,
Just
it's like,
get out.
I really can't understand you as a person.
I just can't. I
Yeah.
really just can't get why somebody wouldn't be able to find something.
Yes, something. Like,
Because he's one of those characters that there's got to be something for everyone.
Mm.
Well, that's one of those characters you can't help but to root for.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's a protagonist, it's like, okay, I like you a lot more than any other protagonist I've seen.
Yeah, well, like, he's incredibly relatable because everybody's got something they want to hold on to. And then basically that's what this character is he's trying to hold on to something.
So are we saying that he's a protagonist and like he is the main villain throughout the show,
Hero.
the anime?
Protagonist is the hero.
Protagonist is the hero.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
dude.
Antagonist.
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 Bad man
Awesome.
antagonist.
Pro.
Yeah, pro
Anti.
and
That's
yeah.
why we love him.
Got you.
Because you're wonderful.
Yes. Well, you see, I'm in depth with what I watch, but I'm not in depth with the
Oh, that's
terminology.
perfect. That's
Okay,
perfectly
look,
fine.
but I've honestly never seen the show at all.
No, neither
I've
have I.
seen the character.
Literally,
Seen
what
the
we're
character.
Is he a
saying.
beautiful character?
I mean, you can't deny the red.
I've gone as far as to
Blonde hair,
say,
green eyes.
even though Trigun isn't on my top 5 list,
Okay.
he is my number 1 favorite or protagonist. You done got me all messed up. I almost said antagonist.
Yes.
He is
My job here is done.
He is my favorite protagonist simply because he is pure driven for it. There is no bending like where some protagonists would be like, well, I can make this change
Yeah.
to do what's right. But no, this is how it is.
Okay.
And I love that about him. Now,
Sholtz, do you have another one for us?
Well, I feel like we can go much more lighthearted the other direction.
Okay.
Lucky Star.
Oh my goodness.
Have you ever just felt Moe love in your heart
I mean, Kawaii.
forever?
Kawaii forever.
You start the show. You're not even in the show yet.
Yeah.
Main characters have already got you. It's too late.
Well, it's like you went through our opening.
And you
If you
will
made it through the opening,
every
you'll finish
time.
the show.
Every time.
That is the truest description of that show I've heard.
I mean, how do you eat a cream puff?
I think
How do you?
Oh my god!
no.
Don't get
More
started.
importantly, do you do a push and shove when you eat an ice cream cone?
Oh god,
Every time.
I don't even know what that would
do
be.
you eat the strawberry or do you save it for later?
No,
To-
you
to-
eat it because then your family comes and gets it later.
Do you know how the chicken is the parent and the egg is the
Oh
kid?
my goodness!
Okay,
Just
to
leave
those of
that
you that don't know what's going on,
I'm
everything.
completely
It's
lost.
okay. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leave it for your love of
Yeah.
the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
After we
You
finish
will-
this podcast, we are going to take Vologo and sit down and watch Lucky Star, and he will know.
he will watch the
understand.
first
This'll
episode.
be
I don't
my
know if he'll
ninth.
make it through.
This will be
Yeah.
my 9th time watching episode 1.
I'm pretty sure
And
I've
I'm
watched
okay.
this first episode 1,000 times, and I'm gonna sit down and watch it like I'm a little kid again too.
Every moment just makes me happy to watch. Just I'll be whatever I'm doing, blah blah blah. Lucky Star, I'm good, happy, just
Okay.
excited to see it.
On the count of 3, favorite characters so that we can influence each other. 1, 2, 3.
Conan
Tsukasa. What'd you say?
I mean, I feel me and Cruxis may have
Yeah.
mashed.
Oh,
Just a
okay.
lot.
We had 2
Sorry.
Conadists. We had, what did you say again?
Tsukasa.
Well, Tsukasa's adorable.
I
mean,
know.
you can't. I'm not gonna lie. I do love Tsukasa, but
Kanada's hilarious.
I mean, Kanata, I love. Literally everything about it is. You just can't deny the character. It just makes everything better.
She was like, okay, like the producer was just like, what do anime fans want? And then the answer was Kanada.
And they're like Moe.
And they won.
Yeah.
And they won.
And they did it. They
I
nailed
will
it.
never. I can't
Episodic Moe, which is wonderful.
Especially with all the Kyoto Animation references. Just because Kyoto Animation did Full Metal Panic, Kyoto Animation did Haruhi. And, you just see the references unendingly throughout the show. And
The
it's
Sergeant
hilarious.
Frog references.
Sergeant Frog, too.
Oh my goodness! When's the last? I don't get those references ever. I mean, I never see those in anything, and suddenly just no, we just got them.
It's
We got you. We
everywhere.
got everything you could ever
All
want to
about
know
some
about.
Sergeant Frog.
Goodness. My gosh.
Other points of the show that you
I
love.
mean...
I mean, it's hard to get around the fact that they're all adorable. Everything they talk about's hilarious. The opening is great, and that's every episode.
Every time. Every time they come together, they just discuss life in general, and they're growing up throughout the entire series. So just
The show starts at the beginning of 11th grade and ends with them about to graduate. Which is awesome.
I mean, where you were commenting on it just making you so happy. It's like, I have not watched the show all the way through. I've only seen the episodes I've seen I was here when you guys decided to watch it. And all I can say is, even though at some points I found it a little annoying, it still just made me really happy.
it's not annoying. Ever.
Even when it started to annoy me,
Sholtz
I
is
was
like
still
that. It's not my
happy.
lucky star.
I didn't know what to really think because, yes, in a way it was annoying me, but at the same time it made me so happy
Yeah.
I didn't care.
It's just Moe is love.
Exactly.
Literally
Yes.
just is. And clumsy is sexy. But moving on.
Well, I've only got one more to talk about, and I mostly just want to bring it up for the sake of where you were talking about how a long anime can be good.
Yes.
I wanted to bring up Gundam Wing, which is an anime that I do like. I really enjoyed it, but it kind of goes to where they can kind of wrong themselves with it.
Indeed.
Well, you're 100% alone on this.
Yeah, I know.
I know I've
I
seen
know.
literally nothing of
You
Gundam.
wanna know-
I have
I
seen
know the word
episodes.
mech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know what I remember from just the entirety of all Gundam? I don't even remember his name. I just know that forever ago, character had the hair pointing off the front of his head, and I just wanted to look like that. I don't remember why. I just wanted to look like that guy.
I know Gundam's a trophy in Smash Brothers.
I
It
just
is.
wanted the Golden Gundam because he's OP.
Mechs
Yes,
are
he
also
is.
in other
Golden
shows.
Gundam's
But-
amazing.
Anyway, to carry on.
All I really wanted to say about Gundam Wing, Gundam in general, but specifically Wing, was that while one of the reasons that Gundam does get a lot of hate is that it kind of stretched out farther than it ever really needed to. It could have easily been, like Wing specifically, had over 60 episodes, I want to say. I might be wrong, but it was somewhere around there. And you could have done all of those plot points in 25 to 30. But what it was,
Would it have had the same effect as the thing?
honestly, it probably would have.
Ooh.
Because there were kind of those things. It was in that time where when one Gundam series ended, the next week the new one would start. It's like Mobile Fighter G Gundam ended one week, and Gundam Wing started the next week. So what it was they would stretch out their plots to give them time to write the next series. Which, in a way, you can appreciate because they kept trying to give you new material, but at the same time, they had to stretch out a plot. And while the plot of Gundam, I'm specifically mentioning Wing because it was the one I just really enjoyed, but I did enjoy the plot of it, but because they dragged it into so many episodes, it got stretched so thin that you can see why people hate it. You can just really understand that.
Well, my thing with Gundam, in general, is that for me it was hard to start because I didn't know where to start and I didn't know where to go next.
I have that problem.
I want to watch it, but
Exactly.
I don't know how to follow it.
There are exceptions to this, but I can generally tell you that most, I'm going to specify most, there are the few exceptions, but most Gundam anime are kind of their own standalone story. Like, G Gundam is its own separate universe from almost every other Gundam series. It in no way interacts with the others. It's like they all kind of do their own thing, except for, again, very specific ones that kind of were sequels to each other or were in the same world or interacted with each other in different ways. But it's kind of one of those things that people look at it and they see Gundam like this list of Gundam with this letter or this word or this symbol. And you're just like, where do I even start? Because like you see Gundam W and then Gundam X and you think those have got to be together when they aren't necessarily. It's like, or even G. It's like all of them in the letters, like they weren't really together. They were all kind of their own separate thing. But when you see them, to you, because you just see this long list of Gundam this, you tie them together.
Interesting.
But I just kind of, the only reason I really brought it up was to comment kind of on how a good anime can be made bad by just stretching it too thin, even though, as I said, they did have a reason for stretching it. They were just trying to get as much out to you as they could for the time.
Right. Probably the next one on my list would have to be, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Magi, I believe, is how it's pronounced.
Yes.
That's how I'd say it.
Okay. Well, I can't touch up on this a lot in real detail because this was one of the animes I loved so much that it made it into my top 3, even though it's still kind of new. I mean, it's pretty new, honestly. And I blew through it in like 2.5 days.
Wow.
I'd say. Yeah.
How long is
Did you
it?
say you blew through a shonen in 2.5 days?
I mean, it's
How
it's
long
not
is it?
long
Yeah, it's
though.
like, how long is this
It's
series?
in the second the second season's over. Waiting on a third. Hasn't been announced. God, I'm praying. I mean,
We've all been in that scene.
I am praying hard, man.
Always out.
So are we talking
done
like
praying
50
for dead
episodes?
man.
Yeah. Gosh.
Two full seasons.
Yeah,
Right
I never
around
really
50.
paid attention to the number, but 2 full seasons.
You
I was
went.
just
You were there. You're at the
one
end
next, one next, one next. You know, just blew through
now.
it.
Well, I've honestly never. The first time I've ever heard that name.
Yes.
So what is the base idea of?
Okay, so
Magi?
here's the thing. You have these things, and they are called the Magi or the Magi, as I say it wrong. But anyway,
There's
Pick a
a
pronunciation,
pronunciation.
just run with it. Don't even mention it again.
awesome. I'm all about it. So you have the Magi, and basically he makes kings, and the kings like control the populace of the world, so to say. They're competing to be like the one king, and they keep the peace. Is basically what I'm getting at. There's these towers that they go into, dungeons, I guess is what you would call them, and you go in there to get like your little like genie thing is what I'm going to refer to it as.
Sure.
And basically, what this does, I know what it's called, but I can't pronounce it. Again, I'm bad with the pronunciation.
It's good. Just roll over it.
And they turn into weapons. Okay.
Got you.
Yes. So basically, you have the Magi. You have Aladdin. Okay. He's like the god. He's like
literally Aladdin.
no. Yes, he is like the god Magi. I know it's kind of there, but and he's friends with Alibaba.
Dude, I've heard weirder plot lines by far.
Oh, I'm not
Yes.
afraid of the plot.
Keep going.
I'm excited for it.
Yes, and he is friends with Alibaba, all right, or Alibaba, however you want to say it. And they basically go on all these adventures. And I mean, their friendship, I mean, it is a tight bond, a really tight bond. And like their little finger lock thing that they do whenever they pick each other up when they fall down, it's beautiful. But I love it because it's an emotional roller coaster. Whenever you first meet this little kid, he's about, like probably think of a gnome. And then, and then, with all these humans, and he's just like the only gnome out there. And he's over here like chomping down on this like fat dude's watermelons. I mean, and he's got like these big eyes and like
He's eating a fat man's
Okay, so
watermelon.
this
Okay,
fat
I've
guy's
never
a
had a-
watermelon.
this
Yeah,
fat.
look.
I mean, he's kind of like a slave owner,
Okay,
like
I've
I've
asshole.
worry
never
about
heard a
the
better
owner
plot
of the
synopsis
watermelon.
in my entire life.
He's in this caravan just chomping down on his watermelon. It causes all kinds of trouble for
Oh,
Alibaba.
goodness.
I'm seriously, Shon is slowly crawling into bed with me.
I mean, but this one is funny and it's serious, and that's what I like
I
about
think I'm
it.
going to watch Magi.
You really
Yeah.
should. I would definitely.
Well, here's what we'll do.
If you're looking for a
you
gateway
take
shonen,
Magi, and one of us will take One Piece.
Dude, I've already... Magi, mine.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I don't
if you're
think
looking
anyone
for a
wants to go
gateway
to One
shonen,
Piece.
that's one to go
Well,
for.
Chris, I'm glad you volunteered for One Piece.
I mean, hey, somebody's got to do it.
I watched Soul Eater.
Yeah, you're like, I've contributed
Yeah,
my
it's
part.
like-
It's already
Hey,
been
I-
there.
You need
With
to
you, man. We're there.
But honestly, everyone at the table, I would definitely recommend Magi because it's still new, so you don't have the 1,000 episodes to get through. You can follow it,
Which
Right.
means you'll slowly get pulled
We're at
in.
the
Like,
start of
you-
1,000 episodes.
and you will get pulled into it. Because this one isn't like One Piece where you have to get to like a certain point to where you're like, oh my god, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
This one you fall in love with it from the first episode because of that scene. Like if you just sit there and watch it, I mean, you're gonna laugh your ass off, and you're gonna like rewind it and do it again.
I'm gonna go home and watch this now.
You honestly really
you
should.
got me a little bit hooked.
And Morgiana, I believe, she is so sexy, right? Whenever she fights, she's a slave. Yes. No, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not fan service. Definitely not.
You're losing him.
No, by no means. There's no fan service. I mean,
she wasn't there.
I shouldn't say.
It's okay. Vologo, he knows his women. Don't worry about
exactly. I shouldn't say that she's sexy when she fights as much as she's just straight beautiful. Because I mean, like
there is definitely a difference.
There is a difference. I mean, I find it wildly attractive because I mean, she wants to be stronger for her friends, right? She wants to be able to like help her friends. She doesn't want to be put in a situation where she's helpless because that's how she's felt her entire life being a slave. She's from a special breed of people, which I cannot think of their name right now. God help me. And they basically have like bright pink, or you could say red hair.
Magi, tough words.
Yes, Magi. And it's got like 4 letters. But anyway. So, whenever she fights, I mean, she will dig her feet into the ground to take off into a dead sprint. And, like, you will see the power in her legs because her feet will just fly into the concrete to get grip. And, I mean, she just, boom, takes off. Morgiana would be the Mikasa.
Wow.
Exactly like that. I even have...
They're just crazy OP, I'm gonna get this done.
She is really strong.
Who is her Aaron?
That would be Alibaba.
Oh, we got some...
Yes, and I have a background on my desktop that has Mikasa holding like a little miniature Aaron, and then you have like Morgiana holding like a little Alibaba.
Got you.
And I love that background so much. It's so
Relatable topic.
It is relatable because a lot of people like Attack on Titan. And I'm not saying if you like Attack on Titan you're going to like Magi, but you're definitely going to like, I mean, in a different way, you're going to love it.
That's a bold statement, but
And
you know what? You know what? You've got me hooked. You said some major points tonight.
I'm interested.
Definitely.
I might Code Geass this show and watch it in 2 days.
Yeah, another thing that kind of goes with it is if it does end up running, as long as some shonen can, there's not
this
like
is
that.
the perfect time to hop on
Yes,
board.
that's what I was about to say. There's not like that big episode count that kind of scares you away when you start to look into it.
Yes.
You can like go through it, and then from then on to you, it's just a week by week thing. It's
And
like,
like-
oh, just one more episode.
Exactly, and like I said, it happened so fast for me. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm already done with the second season. When's the third season coming?" It just, you can fly through it. You can really like get into it, and just learn to love it. Those are the kind of animes I like. I like to be able to feel the characters and like really like love them and like feel their pain and everything else. There's one scene, scene.
You're getting to specific scenes.
Okay, one scene whenever.
Super hype.
Hook me.
Whenever Morgiana finally, like, because she's to herself, she's kind of like Mikasa. She doesn't really show emotions. But she finally finds out or realizes that she has friends, and she just dances. And it is the most beautiful dance I've
I
ever
have seen that, and I'm so upset that I've seen that.
You've seen the dance?
I watched an AMV, and I just connected the art style of Magi because I've seen clips of Magi to the scene that I saw, and now I know that's what it is, and I'm really upset.
But I think if
Because
you
you
watch
just didn't
it,
get to experience it.
Yeah,
I think if you watch it and you see why she's so happy when she dances, and just the way that she moves so freely, like like the chains being broken. I think that's what the dance like resembles. It's like her chains are free. She's finally in a good place.
Feeling one with Bobby right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
telling
might watch this today.
If any of you were looking for a gateway
got it.
shonen,
this is
I don't
definitely.
think I can get away from it. I think I'm just gonna Magi really hard.
Yeah,
Honestly, I would because
I can literally watch the first season for Bobby now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just for Bobby's sake.
I would really love it if you did
Love you,
because
Vologo.
if I get into a show, I mean, I have no problem like discussing my love for that show, and I recommend it 10 out of 10 in my book.
10 out of 10, watch twice.
Watch twice.
Awesome. Well, I wish I could back up that enthusiasm for the next show
Oh my.
because either everybody loves it or everybody hates it.
I thought we already got Future Diary.
And wow.
Well,
You
It's
know.
okay, I understand.
Yeah, that's.
But it's Sword Art Online.
oh yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Sword Art Online, everybody knows, recently took
I actually
along
watched
with
it. I
Attack
can
on
relate.
Titan was like a huge deal.
Yes, both
Was-
of those coming out was awesome.
Were a ridiculous deal, and now
Oh,
you
wow.
get when season 1 was out, literally everybody was completely hooked in.
Yes.
And then season 1 ended, and there was a feeling, because I'm sure this isn't going to break anybody's heart or know anything, the arc 2 of season 1 was really deflating.
Yes.
It had no chance of living up to that.
Well, it's like you had arc 1, you were presented with the gamer feel, where you're in a universe where you want to be, for like gamers would want to be in.
Yep.
Well, thinking of wanting more of a show, everyone wants like every single part that you would think would be in Arc 1. They want every floor.
They want Arc 1 non-stop. They don't want that part to end. And then when you get Arc 2, when you get into Arc 2, you're like, okay, this is cool and all, but Arc 1 was so much better.
So, yes.
And that's the main problem with Sword Art Online. But the reason that having watched Season 2, I think it kind of saved itself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's still not Arc 1.
I will watch. I've always said Season 1 Arc 1 best. Did not get better than Season 1 Arc 1. I did not hate Season 1 Arc 2.
Me either.
Not at all. Enjoyed it. Not as good as Arc 1. Nothing has been as good as Arc 1. But Season 2 Arc 1 brought it back up towards the goal again.
I have a question.
When you take a show like that, though, you think you're always going to be climbing up, like better and better and better and better. And when you start at such a high point, it's hard not to maintain that the entire show.
You literally went like the best to. I mean, technically, I didn't hate it, but I guess technically the worst.
I guess it's technically the worst. And then now they're trying to salvage it with season 2, which they did a really good job of.
I enjoyed the entire.
I personally really enjoyed Gun Gale.
Gun Gale was very good arc. Anyway, thoughts, Vologo?
Thoughts on... Okay, so Sword Art Online, I would be just as hysterically in love with it as I am Magi. For the first arc.
Yeah.
For the first arc. Now, if they would have started with the second arc or maybe Gun Gale and then something happened and the first arc happened later on as a high point where it built up to it, that would have been a different story. But like you guys said, I feel like they started up on such a great note that the rest of it really doesn't live up to my expectations of what it could be.
Well, honestly, I just feel like whenever they go into any other game, and I get at this point, I guess this technically is a spoiler, but I guess at this point, I don't really feel afraid for saying it. Dying in the game of Aincrad, killing you, they almost never have that fear again. It's just
the consequences are completely different.
Yes.
You're not fearing for your characters' lives. You're just watching a show.
Exactly.
Because what it comes down to is they're gonna respawn.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
for lack of a better way of putting it.
It's just a game again.
And a reason to season 2 bringing it back. They bring back some of that thread a little bit.
They did.
You have some which gives
and they
you
did
a
it
little
in a
more
creative
sense
way.
of urgency.
They did it in a very
It
creative
was
way.
definitely different.
I mean, they take Arc 1 and you have that love for your characters and the fear that they may die. And they use that to pull you in, hook you, and get you attached to characters. And like I said, no spoiler alert, I was like, you know that people are going to die.
Yes.
Because you're stuck here, and like I said, you have the real life to worry about as well. And then you move into Arc 2, where you're presented with the Mario syndrome.
Yeah.
My princess is in another castle.
Yeah.
And that was the deflating of Arc 2. And when they go back to Arc 3, they're more like, okay, let's actually put some danger into it all.
Yeah, a lot of people, that was one of the main problems they had. Arc 2, they had you had one of the main characters brought from such a powerful, strong, we got this, let's go, position to just, like you said, Princess in Another Castle. Just completely changed the way she went through the entire season, just halfway through.
Now, we should address the characters in another show where the side characters, or maybe not, don't live up to the hype or do live up to the hype. Because Kirito, the main character, either you really love him because he's a wish fulfillment character. You want to be him.
Kirito.
You want to be Kirito.
Here is where I can actually join in the conversation. Because I watched the first 7 episodes of Sword Art Online and I wasn't all that entertained by it.
Okay.
And part of it that was difficult for me, I believe the term for characters like Kirito is a Gary stew, meaning that the character can do no wrong and is basically the perfect dude who can win every fight and picks up vaginas within a 3-mile radius in every direction.
They just are drawn to him.
My new complaint, for the show, is that even with what I've seen with merchandise, this show is taking a harem turn, which might
Well-
cause me not to watch it.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
It wasn't as
no.
pronounced in the first seven
Agreed.
episodes when because that's kind of the problem I had with it, and apparently it actually got like full on harem from what Cruxis has told me. But it just seemed like in the first 7 episodes, and I know a lot of people say that I didn't quite get to the good part. It seemed like I got a lot of, here's the lolly character with a little dragon. Here's the tsundere looking for dragon shit. And it's like, here's Asuna who's a tsundere, but she's like the girl he's gonna get.
Okay.
It really
And-
did. It wasn't as outright, but there was that harem vibe. It was like just
I was
collecting.
there
pulling
was
for
the
the
vibe.
blacksmith.
There was
I
the
wanted
vibe,
the blacksmith to
but
do
I
it.
was kind of okay with it, just because they weren't like, we're gonna make a guild and we're all gonna move in together. You know? It's
It
like
didn't
we're
go
not
full blown.
we're not gonna go into the bath and like Kirito wants to take a shower and then like Asuna's scrubbing Moe girl's back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I just couldn't get entertained by it, so I couldn't finish the show. But as far as the characters went, that might have been a thing that kind of took me out of it. Not saying that they're bad, and I don't want to use the word mediocre because it has a really negative connotation to it.
But if you go to the original
But
meaning
it's just
of it,
sort
where
of
it's just average.
The average
I
character to me.
believe Sword Art Online hit the audience of overpowered gamer. I want to be the best.
Yeah.
I can save
They
everybody.
nailed their target demographic.
Yes, that's why it was such a big hit because,
Yes.
like I said, gamers and anime kind of go hand in hand for most people.
I mean, a lot of people like their overpowered.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do play
They
games,
definitely nailed it.
irregular
and I like
trying
to
to
be
get-
strong.
I mean, over leveling, all of us.
The irregular himself was
Yes,
quite.
referencing
I mean,
the
the
irregular
irregular?
Magic High School.
Okay.
Another podcast.
God character.
Anyway, but my thing is, literally, when I sit there thinking about Sword Art Online, such high potential, hit it to a degree and failed to a degree.
Yes.
So as far as the future for the show, I'm uncertain.
I'm hopeful.
It can be good and it can be bad. But if the harem thing, like I said, season 2 started off with a tub scene.
Yes.
I'm like, you don't need that.
That actually
in
happened?
the show.
Yes.
Hey,
Oh.
Kirito
That's
got,
hilarious.
Yes, Kirito got a phone call from Asuna in a bathtub.
Yeah.
I'm like, you hurt me.
They're trying to keep a
Wow.
fan base, I think, at this point.
I think now, literally, like they have their Sword Art fan base. Now they're taking a harem approach.
It scares me.
Yeah, they're taking a harem approach to hit another audience.
Mm-hmm.
They are abandoning what the show is for something to get views, and it's upsetting me.
And whenever you have such
So it's
high
basically
reviews,
Madhouse Studios.
Yeah, in a way.
You want to talk about heartbreak?
Oh boy.
Honestly, don't. I'm too
Anyway,
afraid for this to happen.
I'm gonna log out of that one and give it to Marcus over here.
Don't you know the log out button's not there?
Dude, it's not there. Oh my gosh, we're stuck in the Sword Art topic for the
Just
rest
save-
of the
just save it
podcast.
for
No, dude, we're in the second season.
You change the topic, you die in real life.
Oh my gosh. We've all
Wait,
messed
I
up
guess I
here.
just killed myself.
Yeah.
Curses.
Try harder.
The next one I'm going to talk about is kind of a. I don't think anybody in this current podcast has actually seen what I'm going to talk about, but I feel like I can portray it in a good manner. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya it's 2 seasons and then a movie, and the 2 seasons are kind of like goofy antics. You just have fun with the SOS Brigade and like watching Haruhi, because Haruhi's actually a really well developed character. But the thing is, the creators treat the audience like they're intelligent. So, like, when you watch Haruhi do things and say things, like, you can understand what she's thinking based on what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're thinking, and it doesn't take much thought. Because they're basically like, hey, we're not going to make this hard, but you should be able to pick up on this by yourself.
Right.
When it really comes into play is the movie. And that is when you see this character, who has been the same way throughout both seasons, just the amount of character development, because it just takes everything and spins it up on like, basically turns it over on its head.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to see this character completely out of his element, and yet in the way, like, living the way he wants to, he says, at least, that he wanted to live the entire time. And it's probably the best anime movie I've ever seen, despite the fact that I haven't seen very many. It's definitely, I mean, if I had to rate it 10 out of 10, no problem. It's an astounding movie. The show's really good.
Yeah, that's a perfect rating.
Yes,
And
it is.
that
From
actually
you,
means,
of
that means a
all people.
lot
Yeah.
coming from Marcus.
Yeah,
I mean-
Marcus is pretty critical, so a 10 out of 10 is well spoken of.
Yes. Indeed.
Haruhi.
I mean,
Again,
it's really, I can't tell you anything, just because, like, when you watch it, you'll, like, on the surface, you'll be like, this is all nonsensical bullshit. Then you finish the show, and you're like, none of that was nonsensical bullshit. And then it just sort of smacks you in the face at the
Mind blown.
end. Not like it's not a plot twist. You just start to realize that everything meant something.
And then after that, you see the movie, and it just kind of brings it all together in a way. And
No, at the resolution of the movie, you understand everything had a purpose, and it just sneaks past you.
And I do like that. Like that's one of my favorite things in an anime is like when everything just falls into place so perfectly towards the end, and then like you kind of feel like a fool for not like seeing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
the plot twist that was not really a twist.
Yeah,
You-
it was just there the whole time,
and you
just like saying
never
hello.
really.
It's more like a
We
key
were
in
looking for the
Hari.
twist.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's like you've got this door in front of you, and you can go through it if you want, but only if you choose to.
yeah.
And then basically the movie's like, here's the key, head on in. This is your chance, and you go in, and you're like, holy crap!
It's
Like look at everything that I was missing, but I knew was always here.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I got you.
So that's all I got to say about Hari, I suppose. You got something for us, Sholtz?
Got hair sprouting in my ear for some reason.
Impressive.
But
I've never heard of that anime.
I don't think I want that.
it-
When I said, "Do you have something for us?" I mean,
I mean, you
How
can
many
specify,
seasons does it have?
But for real seasons.
Okay.
Tokyo Ghoul.
All right.
I'm all about it.
As of now, still going in season 2, but I think we're 6 episodes into season 2 now,
Roughly.
and I'm so super hyped for that show. And if it lets me down, I will cry, and I will record the crying. It'll be right here.
Well,
But
go ahead.
sometimes I just want something really just badass,
mm-hmm.
and not to say the show doesn't have other elements to it, but God, just every episode of season 1 especially, they didn't have time for filler. They're like, we want to get this whole show out. And every single episode just made me feel like, fuck yes.
That is a key
Every time.
selling point to Tokyo Ghoul. Season 1, 12 episodes. All 12 episodes have action to them, plot to them, development of characters to them. There is no slouching. There is no holding back. Each episode had you hooked. You did not feel like you wasted time watching the next week's episode.
I think I started. Yeah, it was episode 8. I started because you were like, "Hey, here's this pilot for the show, promo, whatever." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Went home, watched every episode up to that point. Super. Just I could not. I literally this was the first show. I just could not. I just say I can't wait for the next week. I literally could not. It just constant just progress. There's not really much to it other than just everything about it. Never let you down. Never was like, okay, well this week was. Okay.
Yeah.
The characters, I loved Kaneki. He goes through some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Everything for him, but I mean, this again such a quick.
If you don't
short
know, you
thing.
will.
Such a quick, short show. I can't really say much for it.
Yeah.
Other
Everything's plot related.
all of it. Yeah, there you go.
There's no extra, and like even like where season 2 is, and without going into any detail what happened in season 1, you get season 2, and they're like, "Hey, here's a bunch of stuff we're gonna put in your face. Prepare yourself for the ride for season 2."
Season 2 literally picks up the moment season 1 stopped.
Yeah, it's not a day later; it's the second of.
It's like maybe a second after.
And like I said, where you said earlier, the pilot episode. Recommended to anybody. Watch the first episode. You'll either want to watch the show or you won't.
Caught me completely.
It is the
Instantly.
hooking point. It's kind of like Attack on Titan's pilot. You either want to watch it after that, or you're like, this isn't for me.
I am so beautifully isolated from that show, and I'm so ready for it to be over so I can decide if I'm going to watch it or not.
You're kind of like me. You don't want to commit until you know if
Yeah.
that ending is going to live up.
Well, since this is apparently the last season, like there was literally 2 seasons,
It is 2 seasons and done.
I have somehow, I don't even know the main character's name. I don't know what's going on. There's ghouls involved, I assume, and there's a city in Japan.
Call Tokyo.
And like, I'm so beautifully isolated. I'm so excited for this show I know not anything about. But at the same time, I'm dreading it just in like, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch Tokyo Ghoul eventually. And then I'm scared they're going to walk in and be like, oh,
Yeah.
that show's terrible now. It's like, okay, I'll find another Moe show, I guess, and wait. I'll just wait for the next
It's-
cool thing to
And
come
it's
along.
not that I'm really like where we're at right now. I don't see any point where they're just gonna like cut my legs off and just make me
Yeah.
want to just crawl into my hole. It's just
Rip out your toenails.
being only 6 in. It is kind of scary for me because I am so completely just caught in this show. that if it does break my heart, I don't know that I'll be able to watch a show for about a month without just being like, no, it ain't gonna go
Man,
anywhere.
I've been there.
And the scary part is we've all kind of had at least one show that fit that where it was like you thought it was the greatest show ever, then it was like the last 2 or 3 episodes just ruined it for you.
Can you say Soul Eater?
I was waiting for it.
Good lord.
Not even the whole last episode.
Just the last 5 minutes.
Like,
Yeah.
the last
know if
episode,
yeah.
they're just like, "That's your penis? Well, it's coming with me. I'm gonna cut it off, and you'll never see it again."
There goes that. You know that erection you had for this show? Yeah, we want it, and we're just going.
It's like,
That is a beautiful description.
like
It was very upsetting. It's not even the word for it.
it's
but
like it's a shonen that I like really enjoyed,
It's like a boner killer.
and then it's just like, okay, we didn't go very over the top, but like this last episode, like we're like you won't even see it. Like it's in
It's with
lower
the
Earth
clouds.
orbit, like. God, it was incredible how different they went with that one last episode.
And I didn't actually watch Soul Eater, but isn't it one of the things where they didn't even... It was one of the few shonens that didn't even... They kind of skipped off of the manga from a pretty messed up point.
The manga wasn't even done until last year's summer, and that show was over a while ago. And they had to make their own ending, and they sure did.
We've all been through that. Like,
When
the original Full Metal.
Well, when you talk about the
Also,
manga
the
adaptation,
original series.
getting back to Tokyo Ghoul,
Manga's
let it be
done.
said, manga is done.
It's over.
Show is based off manga. Season 2 is taking a turn from the manga.
Ew.
But the manga creator approved the turn.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's going to be fantastic. Well, of course, I have not read the manga. I don't know if the manga ended good or not. I don't know if it's going to be a fantastic turn or something that will make me want to jump off a bridge.
God, again, this will kill me. If it is,
But I can literally say up until now, season 1 and then half of season 2 has been fantastic.
Well, you can watch Magi afterwards and be okay.
Yeah.
dude, it'll take a lot of Magi to fix that.
2 whole seasons.
Where I mentioned the original Full Metal, it kind of was the same thing, but in that one, I always assumed that it was they kind of just decided, okay, we aren't going to wait for the manga anymore. We're just going to make our own plot. What it actually was their writer just said, nah, it's like, don't wait on me, do your own thing. And that kind of does make me respect it more.
Scares me so much.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, that can make it a lot better if it turns out to meet your expectations.
Oh, if it does, you don't know.
The joy,
I mean,
just the
that's
relief.
It came
the
back
relief-
from that much more.
Yeah,
Yes.
the relief that you're gonna feel
Well,
is
it's
gonna
like,
be amazing.
again, I see no reason for it to hurt me, but if it shouldn't, and when it doesn't, I mean,
You'll cheer. You'll dance.
the walls, man, they will be just covered.
Basically, we'll keep you posted in the next few weeks,
Yeah.
depending on what's going on.
We will record
Anyway.
the tears if they come.
I think we just kind of hijacked somebody's topic.
More anime.
Yeah.
Well, Karen's done with his list,
Yes.
am I correct? So the
Okay.
logo, you got at least one more, right?
Yes, I have one more that I'm going to talk about. Very popular one. Everyone
And a
knows
very,
about
very controversial one in a way.
it. You know, I mean, some people
Okay,
at
no
the
pick
table.
Oh.
We are
Please,
going to...
Vologo, continue.
You have the right to turn off this podcast now because
right.
we said Boku no Pico.
We're supposed to pretend it doesn't exist.
Vologo, what were you gonna say?
Oh, yes, Naruto. Okay, let's get this started.
Now, is it Naruto or is it Shippuden?
Both.
I know it's a thing.
And
The-
what is
oh.
the difference?
I mean, Shippuden just carries off of Naruto. I think Naruto was made by different people.
No, it was actually the same thing. In the manga, they never even changed the title.
Is that what it was?
It was just there was a 2-year skip, so
Yeah.
it was like it kind of goes back to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
I didn't know
Yes.
I didn't know that word existed for this.
Yes,
Really?
I heard
knew that.
Naruto. That's all I ever knew.
Man,
it was
I mean,
Naruto Shippuden. Is kind of the second half of it where they're all older.
Learned
I can
so
believe it.
much.
So this is what happened with me and Naruto and I. I'm a kid watching Avatar. Okay, people have seen Avatar. I'm hoping.
Yes.
people
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Repeat.
Honestly, no.
So, well, there you go. And
Airbenders. and
I mean, I know the.
You know, blue people.
Yeah.
They attach to like animals.
stuff.
And stuff.
Arrows and foreheads.
M. Night Shyamalan and such.
So,
Oh my.
The other Avatar.
yeah. So I'm
James
over,
Cameron, then.
I'm over here watching this Nickelodeon show, and I tune into Cartoon Network. I see Naruto, and I watched the first episode, and I loved it. And I kept watching it, and I kept watching it, kept loving it. And my friends and I loved it. So much so, to the point that we were practicing, like, the hand signs. And, like, the saying the words and the jitsu. Fireball no jitsu. And, like, throwing fireballs. You know, we was, like, trying to, like, roleplay this. This was, like, my first attempt at cosplay. I would say.
Burns down.
Yes. And, but after that,
Agreed.
we had dial-up internet. So,
Oh.
I remember after, like, watching all the shows up until, like, a point, and then I found out that there was Japanese subtitles. This was whenever I first watched anime of Japanese subtitles, like the original, like, you know, not dubbed, I guess is what you'd say. And I loved it. I had dial-up internet, and I was still watching it. I was waiting for, like, 40 minutes to an hour, and if my mom got a phone call, I would have to wait. And
30 years to watch Do You Like Waffles? Dude,
yes,
I understand.
yes,
Dial-up
and
was terrible.
I did it happily. I mean, I didn't even like play it in bits. I waited for the entire thing to load before I'd press play.
Like a man.
Yes, like a man. I would just entertain myself through other means as a teenage boy would. And you know, it was great. And this is when I first started falling in love with characters. And what I like about it is, like, you have Itachi, you have Sasuke, right? You have Naruto. And the protagonists... No, not the protagonist, the antagonist.
Oh.
Let's get this right now.
Oh, snap.
Learning during the podcast. And it changes so often. It's, you know, it's Orochimaru, it's Itachi, it's freaking, you know, it's Pain, and, like, whoever else it's going to be, like, throughout the series. And what I loved about it is, like, you learn that, like, maybe Itachi wasn't such a bad guy after all. Mm-hmm. You know, you find out that instead of being the villain, instead of being like this hated guy of OP-ness that's awesome, you know, you love to hate him.
He really is.
Yeah. And you find out that he's actually just like a really loving brother, and he really loved his village. And everything he did, he sacrificed for his brother, and he sacrificed for the sake of the Leaf Village. And it was amazing. And this is, again, one of those things that it took like 300 episodes to figure out. But I'll be damned if I didn't cry like a baby when I found out. Like, I won't say what scene I'm talking about, but if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
It was kind of one of those moments where that character that you have had that love-hate relationship that whole time, you finally get, like, the missing piece of the plot
and
that just takes all that hate
the
out.
hatred just melts away, and, like, all you're left with is just like, God, I just want to hug you.
Especially Itachi. It's like every character in that show has an awful backstory. But
and, you know, if you were to choose an anime to live in, don't choose Naruto, because your early life's gonna suck really bad.
Everybody.
It doesn't matter. It's not biased. I mean, I don't care if you were like the first Hokage. Your life sucks.
Your life sucks.
Your life sucks.
You think we're joking? I've yet to see a happy backstory in this, and I've read almost all of the manga.
And I think that's why I keep watching. I'm just waiting for it to get happy. You know.
And that's kind of one of the things I like about it is no one had a happy childhood, but still they're all living these happy lives. They've gotten past what happened to them.
And it makes their bond so much stronger. And that's what I like about Naruto, is because he is the one character that everybody can relate to, because he's had it rough. Everyone agrees Naruto's had a shit life, but he is just turning people around. People who think that they've had bad lives. People who have genuinely had horrible lives. He is changing them. He's not killing them off. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what Karen likes to talk about. Naruto hasn't killed a single character. Instead, he changes like their way of thinking, and almost like makes them into like not a villain anymore, more like an ally towards the end. And I absolutely
got some Vash qualities to him.
Yes. It's like I might be wrong. Like there may have been one or two, but I'm stretching my memory as hard as I can, and I cannot think of a single time that he killed anyone.
Yeah.
It was always...
Certainly not a main villain or a main character.
Like, the one that comes to mind the most is there was this one antagonist that did everything he could to just break Naruto down.
Yes.
He was just doing everything. I'm trying not to just ruin
You're
things.
talking about either Pain or...
I'm specifically talking about Pain.
Okay.
Trying to avoid spoilers unless we throw out a disclaimer.
Yes, I'm being as vague as I can. It's like, he literally did everything he could to just try and break Naruto down to his way of thinking, because they came from a similar past, and that's what he was thinking was Naruto will understand what I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets around to that, and Naruto has the opportunity to kill him.
Absolutely. And he is fully raged out. I mean, he is testosterone levels up through the roof, and I mean,
fighting spirit at the max.
And he's ready.
I mean, he was completely... He could have killed him, and no one would have said a thing about it.
I would have loved it.
But instead, he just stands there and talks to him about their shared past and what they've been through. And he takes that opportunity and just takes this great villain who has done all these horrible things and turns him to a man who is willing to do whatever he can to right his wrongs.
Yes. And I'm glad he brought it up, because in a way, anime has become such a big part in my life that it's changed my way of thinking. And since watching Naruto, I can say that I feel like I'm a better person because I choose Naruto's path, I guess you could say. But mainly, I try to think through other people's side, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of people, you know, especially if, like, you're in a work environment, you always have that one person that people just, like, always talking down to or just don't like, you know, kind of shun. Mm-hmm. And I try to see life through, like, their side, and I try to talk to them and get to know them before... If they're just genuinely an asshole, I'm not going to be a dick back to them because I'm not going to stoop to that level. But I'm definitely going to try to talk to them first and understand why they are the way they are. And, you know, yeah. And that's what I like about Naruto. It gives you a life lesson every episode, or not every episode, but
every arc.
Every arc. And it's definitely worth to watch. Definitely worth diving deep into. And on that note,
have you ever considered a career in marketing?
Yeah, I mean,
in the last hour, he has done more to turn you through to shonen.
He's done more for shonen
marketing
than literally just like hundreds of episodes. Millions of people in a fan base.
The problem with marketing is like they just want to show you like the action and like the things, but you got to get deeper into like shows like these, and you got to get to the roots of why you should love it and like why you want to stick around to it.
I mean, I'm considering having your babies.
I'm ready right now.
I'm just saying.
I think he's talking to shonen.
Oh, well, I'm ready for both.
Who was talking about shonen?
We just need the mic for now. It's okay.
Just push it off the table.
Nah, we gotta get the views.
Oh, wow. Here we go. Now the truth comes out. Anyway, so let's see here. You got a couple more, right, Marcus?
Yes, both of which I can get through fairly quickly. The other one might take a little bit more time.
I'm down to one.
Okay, I'm down to one. So you go and hit one, and then we'll loop back around.
All right. Well, this is going to be the quicker of the two.
Fantastic.
Neon Genesis Evangelion is totally on my list, and
on a lot of people's lists.
I can't blame them for that. And the thing is, when you go into a show like Evangelion, a lot of people have this idea of you won't understand anything that happens. It's all a mystery. It's too intellectual. That is horseshit. Do not believe them. The fact of the matter is, Evangelion is largely artistic, meaning that rather than having a nailed down symbolism or having nailed down I suppose allegories and illusions, the thing is, it's what you draw from it, and not necessarily just like, oh, this is how I feel about this. It's like, this is how I interpreted this, or this is how I interpreted this character. Mm-hmm. And specifically in episode 25, it's like, hey, here's some hints. Now you can really run with it. And then the movie End of Evangelion takes all of that was in the show that you could interpret personally and just literally gives you an hour and a half of that like pure. And it's just outstanding to see something like that. And a lot of people say they just threw together some random stuff to make it seem intellectual. Well, if that was the case, then you couldn't draw so many things from it. And I know that people say, and I know even the author has said like the religious symbols and stuff was just so people could like kind of spark some creativity, and that's fine because if the show's designed to make you think, and it did that, then it's done its job.
Yes.
And it's like if it aids in the interpretation, and like a lot of times people will be like, oh, this is a great symbolism thing, when all you can draw is one conclusion. The thing is, if you've got a show like Evangelion, where like literally everyone can have a different idea of what even what happened as far as the movie's concerned, because people can't even agree what happened, but still like the symbolism and all the things that happen in the show being like, since there's so many different opinions that people have, I think that it's like, I don't want to seem pretentious and say intellectual, but it does force you to think or you're not going to enjoy it, because you'll have no clue what's going on because you put no effort into like interpreting things in the show. So, like, Evangelion's an anime to go into with an open mind and ready to just have, like, a mental adventure. Like, you've got to follow that white rabbit into the hole.
So, it's kind of like reading a good book, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you have to think about it, right? So, on a mind level, it's going to challenge you just very slightly. But you also run with it, which can be a scary thing, because if sometimes you run with it and it takes you to a whole different level than what you were trying to go to, but this one sounds like whenever you run with it, it takes you directly to the path that you need to be on.
Yeah, because, well, that's the thing. There is no path, it almost seems like.
Okay.
It's like you're making your own path.
Okay.
So, like, I could watch Evangelion and be like, Shinji is a fairy. And I can hit you with, like, all kinds of just rock-hard evidence that Shinji is, in fact, a fairy.
All right.
You might think that Shinji is Aragorn.
Okay.
And you might have evidence to support that Shinji is Aragorn.
All right.
Obviously, you will not probably get those things from the show.
Okay.
But the fact that you can grab those two different things from the show is what makes it an interesting and thus excellent artistic show.
Man, it sounds awesome.
I'm going to take a jump here. 3 90s shows that we've talked about today. Evangelion, Bebop, and Trigun. Bebop and Trigun, where they take a simple, like kind of a 1 point deep thing they're trying to get you to get at, and they put it out in the show and then have like a interpretive ending. Evangelion with its interpretive ending, but it has no one driven point. I just think that's neat.
It was already on my list of things I need to watch, and especially because one person here has said you need to watch Marcus.
Well, I think Marcus has kind of put that on all of our lists.
What does it hurt that Marcus and Vologo apparently can just convince me to watch anything? And then on top of that, Cruxis already has convinced me to watch literally anything.
Well, we like everything together. So.
I believe so. To the point where, like, I'll just watch anything from you guys ever. I mean, you got me.
So basically, everything we talk about on this list is on.
You're on season 1 of Tokyo Ghoul.
Next watch list.
Yeah, I gotta hit Tokyo Ghoul as soon as it's done.
I would definitely say, like, this is definitely, like, I know we're discussing anime, but it's also a recommendation list.
Exactly.
On animes that you should watch or start watching.
And I'm aware that I'm sort of hitting people with the stereotypical list of, like, watch space cowboys and artistic stuff. But at the same time, I mean...
I think we all have our one off-base title, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah. I've got one.
We definitely know what we consider to be good, and then we have the few they're like, hey, you may not know this one. Which, by the way, I don't think we've hit quite yet, all of those.
I've got mine waiting.
What it comes with what you're saying, what it kind of comes down to is the classics are classics for a reason.
Yes.
The anime that everybody's going to tell you to watch, there's a reason everybody's telling you to watch it.
Right.
Because it's typically going to be something you're going to get something out of it.
Right.
One of the things that I've came across, because I sort of sprinkle in these, like, quote-unquote necessary shows as I go along. I feel like the most important thing when watching, like, a quote-unquote classic is context. 100% context. Because, like, I'm trying to put this in a way that it will not upset anybody, so, like, don't cut me off. Let me fully explain myself.
Ready.
We're prepared.
All right.
If you go into Cowboy Bebop expecting some crazy and just plot twisty story, you're so not ready for what you're going to get.
Okay.
It's like you have to have the right mindset going into that show.
Okay.
Before you go in. So, like, that's why, like, with Trigun, since it's a personal favorite, I said, I really want you to go into that blind when you watch it.
All right.
And going into them blind, I think that is the right mindset.
The best
definitely
way is to
not
go with
not
no
like I need to think this way to watch it. It's moreover like if you just let the show give you the mindset, you're going to
Exactly.
Hopefully, you should be able to go along with where you should be in the end of it. Going in with any kind of build up to it always can let you down or just put you somewhere completely off base.
I mean, when it comes to a lot of anime, especially something episodic like Bebop, the hype can kill you.
Yes.
Hype is dangerous.
The fact that somebody labels it as the greatest of all time, like I said, you're like, okay, show me the greatest of all time.
You watch that first episode of Bebop and you're like,
is this the best?
Yeah.
It's almost like you go into it and you're like, all right, well, I want shonen level of depth of characters. I want, like, Evangelion level of artistic quality. I want so-and-so level of amazing story. And this better top all of those categories
Plot twist,
for it to be the best of all time.
and music. better than everything that's out in 2015.
Where's my 11 out of 10?
It's like, dude, calm down.
Again,
it's like
everyone has that show. It's just like, I love this so much. And like I said, Tokyo Ghoul right now for me, if it lets me down, it will. I might actually die.
I feel bad for not ever watching Cowboy Bebop.
Hey, you have the option.
I mean,
I know.
It's
I
definitely
may
something
or
you
may not
need to
have
watch.
handed you the box
You
set.
definitely handed me the box set.
It's over here.
Probably gonna watch it now. I want to know what the hype's
Worth
about.
to watch. But that was Evangelion.
Yeah.
We jumped completely off base.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
we
But I
went
feel
off
like we
base.
kind of stuck with the topic.
Yeah.
To an
Yeah.
extent.
I mean,
We got there.
So
We had the right mindset.
you want to go with this, Schultz?
All right, I'm on it. So the last of my list, a lot would say inspired by Sword Art coming out a few years before it. It's Log Horizon. Log Horizon, I finished Sword Art and was like, I need more. I need more, just anything that could say it was like this. And that's not what I got in the end, but I found this show, Log Horizon. Literally, the overall just difference to start with, just being Sword Art, they're in a game very clearly, just in a machine. Log Horizon, they're suddenly in another world, but it is their game. It's completely their game, but it's now they live there. The whole thing interacts with, I guess you could say, with the game mechanics, kind of, but they now have to just live here. This is now their existence. So if you could cook or whatever in the game, you could try it, but it tastes like water.
Okay.
It tastes all like water, and it's super exciting to just not have anything. They literally build society back up, but everyone's there. The whole connection to rebuilding your world, but it's not like gone, because they've all known this game. They've played this for years. Everything's the same but different. I'm trying to say how to get to it. Sword Art put them in the game. Nothing changed because they were there with the mindset it's a game, same thing, and they needed out. They needed not to die. In this one, what happens if we die? We respawned in the church before. What happens if we die? And they find that out real quick. But the overall feature for the thing that just really caught me, I guess, is just the main character. I mean, the supporting characters are lovely, very, very lovely. But the main character himself, Shiroe, I don't words. He wears glasses. I don't know. He just seems to like completely just interact with the world, just like, oh well. I mean, I'm here now. Let's do this.
it's like,
We're gonna figure this out. Totally gonna figure this out. But I'm here now. So going in looking for more Sword Art, but finding what I did, I mean, it excited me, and I had a whole new show. And they're in season 2 right now. I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're over halfway through season 2 now, I believe.
I heard they get onto the gamer side a little more than Sword Art did.
I
Or
mean,
at least the MMO
mechanics
side
of
of
the game.
things. Yeah.
well, yeah, the guilds
Yes.
still same guilds from the game time. They have raids, everything. All like I said, game mechanics still all there, but in the real world.
I heard they took more of a gamer approach to the game.
Yeah, because apparently they can access like the interface and all that, but I mean they eventually just that kind of disappears. Like it just integrates into just living in
Hotkeys,
this
man.
world. What?
Hotkeys.
Well, the big selling point that I got when somebody was trying to get me to watch Log Horizon, which did put it on my watch list, but I just haven't gotten to it yet, is that I was told where in Sword Art they got trapped in the game and they had that reaction of, we got to get out of here. In Log Horizon, it was more, well, this is awesome. We're in the game we love. To an extent with some characters. Because we've all kind in an extent.
just because of what we said here.
You go to any MMO, you find the hardcore players. There are the people that just want to be in the game.
I can't say I've not felt that.
Yeah.
World of
So-
Warcraft.
Yeah.
No. No, never. Actually, never gonna happen.
That was kind of a description that was given to me. There are those characters that they're like, okay, where's the downside to this?
And I honestly could say I'd be the exact same if I had the whole world being literally the game, but everything seems the exact same. I mean, you just play your game in your real world, but something's off because they can't like quite match up to the game exactly. Because you look through a screen to play it, and then suddenly having to actually do it, it's a bit different, I'd imagine. So, anyway, great show.
Fantastic.
If you want just video game related anything, you're probably just going to instantly hook onto that from probably at least give it 2 episodes so that actually able to explain any kind of anything.
So, are you saying Sword Art fans would enjoy Log Horizon?
I'm saying I will give 70 to 80% of Sword Art fans will enjoy this show.
Gotcha.
It's
And
like Dead
most
Man Wonderland
hardcore
and
gamers.
Future Diary.
Yep.
It's like
Interchangeable to a degree.
Exactly.
If I'm not wrong.
What?
And most hardcore gamers, if I'm not wrong.
I
Just
get
kind of
that.
because of the mechanics.
Okay.
Any other piece on that?
I'd love the ninja.
Alright, well, I guess I'll go to the next one.
Don't act like you're not excited.
Dude, I'm pretty happy. Or at least it seems like I'm happy on the surface, because it's Madoka Magica.
Oh,
I mean, it's a magical girl show.
exactly.
Dude, the
Right?
Magic
Or is
Girls-
I mean,
Magical.
it's a deconstruction of a magical girl show, which is the same thing.
Alright.
until you
Not really.
actually watch it happen.
Shall
I
we
mean-
define deconstruction?
I mean, you take elements from the original like magical girl show, say Sailor Moon,
There you go.
and you kind of invert it. You kind of do it differently. I don't want to say completely backwards because you still get pieces. Like you still
You want
have
me to give it a try?
what?
I said you want me to give it a try?
Give it a shot.
It's basically like you take this hardcore genre
Okay.
and then say there's one part of the genre, for instance, I randomly transformation scene. And it's like, it's just assumed that these girls transform and it's just like, oh, now they've got this new suit. If you were to take that and put more of a realistic twist on it and just be like, I can't really think of anything at the moment. But if you put like, say they would abuse that power or something, because eventually, in the real world, that's that would happen.
Right.
It's basically you take a realistic twist on something that's taken for granted in a genre.
Okay.
So it's something like that.
It kind of takes away from the narrow road of we got powers, we fight evil,
Right.
and brings a more, like I said, a wide base on it. Where like this could actually happen with this.
What if just anybody
Right.
Yeah.
just got
What
some
if this
powers?
was part of real life?
Okay.
What if you just now, I am now
But,
magic?
Bleach, if an evil dictator actually ended up as a soul, what's their
Soul Reaper?
A soul reaper,
Okay.
and was just like, actually, you know what? This is
I've
what
got-
I've been waiting for.
I've got all this power.
Yeah,
Do
it's like
it.
the world's mine. And it's like that never happens, but if it did,
It
that would change so many things.
Right.
And it's put in a really realistic setting, and it just changes something about the genre that isn't usually addressed.
But
Okay.
first thing I will address about the show is the animation style. It is very pretty.
I do
Boom,
enjoy it.
Shaft,
It-
Akiyuki Shinbo.
it is
I am
wonderful.
halfway through.
And
They're
then,
the people behind Bakemonogatari, which is a highly acclaimed show. And
it's on my list,
it's not-
along with a lot of other stuff after tonight.
Look, man,
Bobby,
I was
the logo.
already
Sorry.
behind. I did this put me like I think this. Oh, so many shows.
I had 58 on my plan to watch list
You ever thought
before
about
this
a preacher
podcast.
I don't think I could physically make a
I think I
plan
could
to
make it,
watch
man.
list without just understanding I wouldn't do it.
Kid in a candy shop.
Here we go.
You're just reaching for anything on the
But
show.
when I was talking about
Sorry.
animation,
Rabbit hole.
they have these things you have to like. Basically, the enemies of the show, witches. Now, when you enter a labyrinth where a witch resides, the art style or animation style completely changes to something that I would say is as of Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
Many colors. The motion of like the room is insane. When I saw that in episode, I think 2, I was completely hooked. Not to mention Brigadier Mommy or however you want to pronounce her name.
There's M's.
Yes. Oh, that episode. Anyway, episode 2 got me. But yeah, it's literally the things that are different. The deconstruction part of it, where you have main character Madoka, who is supposed to, or is portrayed as going to be the magical girl of the show. But when you watch all these other girls around her being magical girls, and Madoka being the kind of the center focal point. And like I said, after episode 1, you're like, when is Madoka going to get her moment to shine? Well, the show's not necessarily about main character Sailor Moon. It's about everybody else. So, like I said, the dark side to a show that is so lighthearted on the surface was amazing. And then the ending, which I won't get into any detail at all, blew my mind. I highly recommend this show, especially for a recent anime. Like I said, outside of like Tokyo Ghoul and some other things we've watched, this is way on up there. And like I said, enough to be put on my list.
Chef Nakayuki Shinbo's art style is like really, it's so iffy on me, just because they go for this like really bright colors a lot of the times, or they'll go like one specific kind of style, and then they just like literally put that style on steroids, and then just create an entire setting that you're like, I don't understand why any of this is like this. But I mean, I could watch Bakemonogatari and the continuing Nisemonogatari, Nekomonogatari, and Monogatari series second season. I could watch all of that just about literally on the dialogue of the characters, which was outstanding. And then just the visuals. And that's just something that Shaft and Akiyuki Shimbo, because those two basically go together all the time. It's just something that they do so well. And it's like unsettling almost how I can watch a show literally to see the set pieces.
When you were trying to, earlier, about the deconstruction elements, the thing in the show, and I said, this is no spoiler, you learned this in episode 1, is in Sailor Moon, per se, you get a little creature that comes to you and gives you these powers to fight evil. In Madoka Magicka, you pay a price to have these powers, to do these things. So instead of, it's not free. This isn't something you get to make life better. This is something you pay for.
Those are the best deconstructions, where it takes something that you did not even see coming and slap you in the face with
it. And it does kind of add that sense of realism to it, because everybody knows you're not just going to one day wake up and it's like, oh, here's this. Yeah. You no matter what it is, you're going to have to pay a price.
Man, back to Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah. I didn't even mean to do that. Yeah. You go back to equivalent exchange. You're going to have to give something.
But that's good. That's good. It makes it real, and it makes it something that more people can relate to.
It's just that kind of realism and fantasy sort of setup.
Yeah. Where
it's like, this is really realistic in a fantasy world.
In a fantasy world. Exactly.
You don't get like a cute cat this time. You get Cube. And I will not go into detail about Cube. That is something you need to watch the show and enjoy.
Experience.
I mean, those eyes. Just look at the eyes and get hooked, and then watch the show. But we've got one more anime to address. Marcus.
Boom. All right, now, don't let the name throw you off.
All right.
XXX Holic.
Okay.
It is addressed... Okay. It's usually addressed... It's usually called Holic because the XXX is not necessarily necessary. But the thing about this show is it takes... It has its own take on objective morality, except in the sense that it takes it in a quote-unquote pagan sort of setup, in which, like, it's a magic shop, they're doing all this occult stuff. But really, the occult stuff and, like, the stories told episode per episode is basically used as a vehicle to get the idea across.
Okay.
And basically, you watch these characters, and some of them are relatable, some of them aren't. It just depends on, like, the subject matter, and that becomes more and more evident as you watch the show, because obviously I can't emulate your feelings for you because I don't have the experiences you do.
Right.
But at the same time, you can sort of relate with some of these characters and the things they go through because you have gone through these same things. And then you literally have Yuko, who is one of the main characters of the show, just sort of have her own oratory on this whole idea and just the way that, like, say, people limit themselves or people can break their own dreams and just this sort of continuing thing. And, like, it's really great to have a show that can take basically what no one believes and just from that area of neutrality kind of spread out into what everyone believes.
Right.
So I think it's really clever. If there's one thing to turn you away, though, it'll be the character designs. Because incredibly long legs, incredibly long arms, just incredibly thin, and you don't quite know.
A skeleton in every character.
Exactly. That's the joke that people make, is it's like Clamp was born, because those are the character designers. Clamp was born to make an anime version of The Nightmare Before Christmas. But at the same time, I don't feel like the character designs are a big enough problem to take away from the show. And, you know, Cruxis can hop in at any time, simply because I believe he's also watched the show. And I don't know if he agrees with everything that I said so far.
I agree with everything about that, because this show, like I said, certain episodes, you're going through an episode, and not necessarily presented with a problem, but a situation. And the solution to the situation isn't what you expect it to be, but what you draw from how they fixed it has such a deep meaning and symbolism. I have never had a show necessarily speak to you like that one has. It is something, and like I said, you think it's like, you have Yuko, going to fix a problem, you think they can do it very simply.
Right.
And it's presented as, I can grant your wish.
Right.
And your wish is going to be granted, but not necessarily in the way that you want it or think it'll be.
Okay. Genie effect.
Yeah, it's...
One of the main things, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Go for it.
but I love this show. One of the main things, and this isn't really a spoiler, this is something to look out for.
Okay.
When you watch Holic, you will see Yuko go through all these different situations. You will notice she never makes a decision for someone else. In every situation where they need help, they make the final decision.
Okay.
No matter what she does. And it's always amazing to see these characters change or act differently based on what she said or what she has not said.
Right.
And it's just really cool to watch like the characters interact.
Okay.
I mean, it's also hard to take away from characters that are Colin Klinkenbeard,
Well,
J. Michael Tatum, Todd Habercorn.
Boom. I mean, enough said right there.
Right.
I mean, classy voice actors, nonetheless. But like I said, I hate to use the word symbolism because I don't think it's the right word.
It's not necessarily symbolism in the same way as it's like literally just a medium.
Okay.
It's like we're gonna call it this, but it's really something completely different.
Okay.
It's like McDonald's and a chicken sandwich. It's like there's a McChicken, right?
All right.
It's just a chicken sandwich.
Yes.
It's no different because it's a McChicken.
Okay.
But we're using the idea of a McChicken to sell you this chicken sandwich.
Right. Right.
Does that make any sense?
I get you.
I mean, a little bit, yeah.
I just want a McChicken now, man.
I mean, you're not the only one.
The best way
Hey,
to experience what he's talking about is to watch an episode.
Yes.
Or the series, honestly.
Yeah.
But there are literally,
From
I
the
can
first
think
episode.
of 2 or 3 episodes where when you see what they do, it hits you over the head and you're like, oh my gosh.
And a lot with some of the episodes, and I don't want to drag this on too long, but I can. Specifically episode 6, I won't tell you what happens. But basically, when you see the background go black and it's just that character of that episode and Yuko and she's talking to them, usually in those moments you'll find that you can take what they're talking about and throw it out the window, and what she's saying can apply to everything in your life. And it's just amazing to see how they can talk about this one specific problem.
Right.
But if you take that problem out of the equation and replace it with anything that you have in your life,
the equation still comes out.
the answer's still the same.
And that's hard to do in an anime with so much fantasy and like people trying to create something that's so far out there that people are just hooked on it.
Especially in an episodic basis.
Right.
Because you literally see this for 30 minutes. And like it's just a wealth of information, just episode by episode. And I'm not going to say they're all golden.
Right.
I mean, there's at least like 2 or 3 comedy episodes. There's one debatable, 2 or 3 maybe debatable horror stories.
Okay.
But like,
I will agree that there is one that is horror-esque that it's my favorite. It is my favorite. It is my favorite episode.
I mean, does it like legitimately scare you?
Yes.
Well,
I'll go
okay.
ahead and say that.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me put it this way: the episode itself,
Okay.
like I don't want to say it was all that scary, but
Right.
there is one part towards the end that when the music hits you, your spine shivers, and it scared me good.
Oh goodness.
And it's not even meant to scare you, but
Yeah.
it did.
Awesome. I like it. I'm gonna watch it just for that.
But once again, for
I
the
own it.
shonens in the group,
By the
the
way,
character development's going
a
to be
lot
very
of these
fast-paced for us.
Or on like
Yeah.
Hulu and stuff like that if y'all have them.
Exactly.
I mean, I definitely get on.
And a
Hulu
lot of
and
us have
Crunchyroll.
box sets for most of these. As you can see, we are true fans.
The true fans, exactly. Yeah.
Anything else to add to Holic?
I mean, not if we've got time
Not if-
restraints.
I mean, it is 5 in the morning. We've been recording for a while.
It's 5:47, I think.
Yep, on
Yeah.
a Sunday morning. Karen has church in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe.
I've given up on sleep for the day. I'm going.
We're,
Just drink a coffee
But-
and push. through.
actually, that's all the anime we have today.
Yeah.
And this is,
I'm really excited for
this
it.
is our first
Exactly.
podcast. I think we were pretty well about it.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to get into our games, but we're going to actually
We're gonna cut it
save
short.
that for the next one. But
Short.
on a note, this is a gaming channel too, and we do have a couple of series being uploaded right now.
Yeah, let's see. We got Tales coming up first.
Tales of
and
Symphonia is coming up, as well as Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda.
should be coming up back and forth.
Yeah, they'll probably be doing one a day, mixing it back and forth, just to get a little bit of variety. So that's the heads up on where the channel is going. We will probably do a podcast every couple of weeks or so, depending on how we can script them out, because this was almost 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to
Quality?
be fair, my notes are like 4 words.
I don't know
There
that
you
we'll
go.
do any more 2 hours, but I feel like this one,
Yeah,
we had a lot to go over. We had
We
a
did.
lot of introduction for ourselves.
We'll have narrowed down points for the next few. So I
The
hope you
shonens
enjoyed
had
this.
to
And if
defend
you
themselves.
stuck around,
Yeah.
kudos.
Agreed.
To you.
Applause to you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm in
So-
love with you already.
One question going out to the viewers that we will probably talk about in the next podcast. Anime universe of any choice. Which one would you live in?
Good
Boom.
question.
We've talked about it, but we're actually going to go into detail next time.
Exactly.
Right.
But as for now, we're going to be out of here. So, as for you,
I'll be Vologo on my way.
I guess I'll carry on with you.
Ashinte!
Bye, me.